Hey, what's happening, friends? I am here with my buddy Kevin from NFM Lending. He is the market leader for Hawaii, and we got some stuff to talk about, some updates on things that we are doing, and we're gonna address some common concerns and objections that people are having in the market today. Hopefully calm some of the nerves about what's going on with interest rates and other things. So the first thing is we've been working together for a while now, and this is kind of like the first official introduction of a strategic partnership that we've put together between his lending team and our real estate team, really simply to just serve clients at a higher level and do the things that we were not seeing happening in the marketplace from a high level of service that we expect. And I think if you've worked with our team on a real estate level, we've had friends in the lending business for a long time, and we still have many friends in the lending business, but there's another level of service that can be provided. And when we connected and started to learn how Kevin did business and what his approach to providing service was, not just to the client, which is absolutely the number one priority, but also to the agent, because at the end of the day, if our agents are not being served at a high level, they're not serving their clients at a high level. And I really connected with that, resonated with that. And so we decided to really start looking at how do we integrate more deeply his team with our team to ensure that we're on the same page, we're doing the same things, we're working off of the same processes. So the process at the end of the day, you as our client, may not necessarily see it explicitly, or we might not explain it to you, but you're just gonna feel it because the process is so smooth, right? If we're doing what we set out to do properly, you're not even gonna notice. It's just gonna be such a smooth and seamless process that you're gonna have the best buying experience you've ever had. And that's really our goal at the end of the day. So hopefully you're not necessarily feeling anything different, or you're not like seeing anything weird going on. You're just knowing that we're getting you into homes that you wanna see, we're getting you under contract quickly, and then when that loan process begins, that process is happening efficiently, and you're getting to the finish line as quickly as possible, as smoothly as possible, with the least amount of stress, and that's always been our number one priority. So so maybe introduce yourself, Kevin. Give them some background on kind of, what's your background and how we got here, so I can stop talking.
Sure, yeah. So my name is KEVIN RUDRUD. I am the Hawaii market leader for NFM Lending. When I met Dylan, I think in like late 2022, we've been partnered for a couple years now. The first thing that I realized was, the agency team is all about helping its clients and its agents win. Like really, that's the main goal. And what we're always looking for is great partners who we can help win. And we've always aligned ourselves with great real estate teams. And really, the way we see ourselves in this partnership is as the lending division of the agency team, right? So it's their company. They're always working on being the out in the marketplace, the leaders in their space, and we're doing everything we can to help them win and their clients win at point of sale. And really, that's kind of what we were talking about today. That led to this is really, what are the details on what does that look like? What is the agent experience? Why is the agent experience better when two companies are aligned? Why is the client experience better when two companies are aligned? And what are some of the conversations about how that looks in today's market and why?
Yeah. And so what are some things, we had some recent developments that are pretty exciting that are really taking this whole thing to another level. So let's share about our friends on the Big Island.
Yeah, so we just opened up a branch in Kona and brought on two of the absolute best loan officers on the Big Island in Jamaica Kanyas and Alina Griffey. They're both born and raised in Hawaii. Both, best of West Hawaii winners, multiple years, and really bring that level of experience and professionalism and local wisdom that you really need to succeed when working with the top team in the state and working in, a market that's unique like Hawaii.
And I think I do want to mention, yes, just like our real estate team, we're headquartered on the Big Island, but we serve the entire state. And so we have agents in every state, and our lending team can absolutely service anybody throughout the state.
Yep.
And a discussion I've been having recently, and this may be controversial or a little bit outside of the box, but we wouldn't do business the way we do it today if we followed the box and we follow all of the rules that don't necessarily exist. And one of the things that we've been talking about, I think it applies to this discussion, is when you're raised as a young real estate agent, you're told by people to always recommend a local lender, right? Local, quote unquote, whatever that means. And I've come to realize lately through this partnership and through working with Jamaica and Alina and our agents across the state, that this is a rule that does not exist, and a lot of times is a disservice to our clients. And what I mean by this is, doesn't mean recommend a lender in Oklahoma, right? It means we should be recommending lending professionals who are specialists in the goal that your client wants to achieve, that is going to help them get there, versus somebody who lives in your town, right? That is not a qualification. Like, somebody living in your town and being local does not necessarily they're going to be able to service your client at the highest level. And that's something that we're really focused on across the state. Is I've been thoroughly impressed with what Kevin's skill set that he brings to the table, and Jamaica and Alina bring to the table, because they're really, truly experts. They've been doing this for, how long have you been doing this full time, Kevin?
Since 1999.
And then Jamaica and Alina, between the two of them have probably another 15 years of experience between the two of them. And that's important, not just for your mortgage broker, but your real estate broker. And this is something I talk to clients about all the time, is just because you've had a real estate license for 10 years, if you do 2 deals a year, you've done 20 deals your entire career in 10 years, the 10 years of experience means absolutely nothing. I have brand new agents that join our team and use our systems and work our lead sources and do 10 deals in their first year versus 10 deals over 10 years. And so they have just as much experience, quote unquote, as an agent who's been in the business 10 years who does 2 deals a year. And this is also true, I think people don't understand on the mortgage side of the house. There are many people with mortgage licenses that aren't actually mortgage brokers, right?
Yes. Well, I like to say, the mortgage business isn't a lifestyle business. It's not something that you can do part-time and be any good at. And it's very unique in how it works. And one of the things I say all the time is, there's a lot of people out there that say they have 20 years of experience, but really they just have 1 year of experience 20 times in a row, right? And it's very different than having 20 years of experience, where it's the same as Dylan. It matters the amount of families that the team has helped. It matters how many transactions they've seen, because most of the clients who are purchasing in Hawaii have something unique going on, and the more transactions that the loan team has seen, the faster they are and the better they are at solving those problems, because they've seen them before. Just like anything you do in your life, if you've seen that situation happen many times, you can solve it and be more confident and bring about a better result because of that experience, versus it being your first time seeing it and maybe panicking or not knowing what to do. So I'm of the opinion that when people are purchasing the most expensive thing that most people are going to buy in their entire life, you need to have seasoned pros, big teams, and people that really know how to get you where you're going, because it is scary. And for a lot of people, especially when it's your first time, and just having that, it's like airline pilots, I say a lot of times, where when you get on the airplane, you don't really know how much experience the pilot has. He looks great, he's got his uniform on, he's ready to fly. But when the storm comes over the Pacific and the plane starts rocking and rolling, and somebody needs to start throwing switches and go to different altitudes and all those things, you can really tell who's been in the storm before and who hasn't. And it's a very good metaphor for an escrow. They're kind of a similar experience.
Yeah. The only way you get better at it is to do lots of them.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, there's no training program, no book you can read. I mean, there's no YouTube video you can watch. I mean, you just have to do a lot of them. And I always remind new agents of that in the beginning, it can be overwhelming because there's so much you don't know. But even in my job today, we do 600 deals a year. I, on a daily basis, run into a situation that I haven't seen before, but it doesn't mean that I don't know the answer to it. What I have to do is apply principles that I've learned in the past on how to solve this problem, because the problem is always going to be different, but only experience gives you the fundamental principles to use to get through a problem and to fix a problem or to strategize around a problem. And that's really only comes with a lot of reps, not years of experience, a lot of actually units closed type of experience. And so that's huge. So
especially around lava zone topics, condo topics, investor loan topics, unique ways of making money, borrower topics. All these are things that require a lot of heavy experience in order to give that client a great.
And so that's exactly what I wanted to talk about next. Was a lot of times, you know, a client will come to us or a realtor will come to us and say, can your lender do this, right? And a lot of times a lender will just like say yes or no. With one of the things I learned from Kevin, which I really appreciate, because a lot of times this business is not black and white like that. There is so much context. I don't want to call it gray area because that seems like you're doing something shady, but there's so much of a story that goes into the yes or no that comes at the end. And when somebody comes to you and gives you limited information and they give you a yes or no answer, you should probably be very suspicious of that person's answer because they probably don't have enough information. And so maybe talk about your approach, you know, when somebody says, hey, Kevin, can you do Lava Zone 2, right? How do you answer that question?
So great question. So point of sale is what I call this term. This is where the client and the realtor, where they have lots of questions, and you know, it's very easy as a salesperson to just say yes to everything because you're trying to not turn away business. You're trying to remove friction and get as many clients on board as possible. The problem in the mortgage business with saying yes really fast all the time up front is that you end up, it's kind of a dirty yes. And what can happen over time is the experience gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then what a lot of lenders do is they just kind of give up halfway through instead of killing at the beginning, which creates a terrible experience for everybody, but technically creates the most opportunities for the lender, right? So, and then if it works out, so that's the negative. If it works out for that lender, then they'll say, oh, of course, I knew all along that this was going to be perfect. But really, the client was the one that made it work because it was just luck. So
they were well qualified.
They were well qualified.
Yeah,
it just worked out, right?
Yeah.
So you know, the way we do business is we front load all of that work, and a lot of our clients, you know, real estate agents will agree with this, and borrowers as well, are from like technology, and so there's a lot of like software people. And what software people do is they do all of their suffering at the beginning, all the whiteboarding and all of the hard work they do at the beginning, and then they implement, they call it their project. And they don't want to be making changes as they're going because it's so hard to fix stuff if they didn't do all the great thinking. That's the proper loan process where you do all the thinking up front, all the suffering, all the what ifs, and then when you get into contract, you don't have so many of those you know, things to figure out, right? So that's a key thing to look for, is how much upfront work the loan team's doing. So to answer your question, you know, can you do a loan in Lava Zone 2? The answer is yes. You know, I don't know of anybody, you know, our branch is doing the most Lava Zone 2 of anybody I know in the state. But the first question is always, well, show me the client. Or what does the client look like? Can we get a loan for the client? And then once we've got the client figured out, then we figure out property-specific things in order to figure out if it's a good match. So always suffer up front and have an easy escrow is best practice.
So the important perspective here that I'm taking away as the consumer is, and we get this, right? We get this, you know, you're a client that comes in and you want to start looking at property, and we're like, hey, we want to make sure that if you find something that you absolutely love, we don't miss out on it. So let's get you pre-approved. And we get you over to Kevin, Alina, or Jamaica, and you know, they have a conversation with you. It's like a 15-minute conversation, and they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. And at that point, they're going to need verification of those answers, right? Some documents, some tax returns, things like that. They'll give you a specific list of what you need. But a lot of times we get from the client, man, Kevin asked me so many questions and he wants so many things. Like, why is that necessary? I could have just went online and filled out this like form that takes, you know, 3 seconds, and then they give me a pre-approval letter. And my response to that is, you need to do, but just like Kevin's talking about, you need to do all the work up front, because if we get you under contract and it's a house that you love and it's a perfect home, and you have that 3-second, and we're going to talk about this in a second, the different types of pre-approvals, and they didn't verify income, they didn't pull your credit, do things like that. Now that escrow gets shaky and potentially we don't meet a deadline, and the seller cancels on us and they move on to somebody else, where we can know 95% assurance that as long as nothing weird's going on with the property, Kevin's made sure that you can 100% close on that house when we get under contract, and it makes everybody's life easier. Your heart doesn't get broken because there was something that was missed in the process. You know, we don't waste a bunch of people's time, right? Escrow's time, the listing agent's time, the home inspector's time, the appraiser's time, all of that time gets wasted by a lot of different people if we get under contract irresponsibly. So just understand that that's our goal, is to do this in a responsible way and get you to the finish line in the smoothest way possible. But anybody who wins a race did a ton of training and preparation before they get to that starting line, and we really want to focus in on that preparation versus just starting, getting under contract, and then creating a mess afterwards, right? So let's talk about that next, the different types of pre-approvals. Kevin's got a great illustration, color-coded illustration for this, which makes guys like me, very simple-minded, easy for me to understand. So
clients are going to have two emotions when they're in a property, and maybe this has already happened to you before, but they're going to be thinking about two things. They're going to be thinking about money, and they're going to be thinking about the house. And it's very hard for a great house with a ton of competition to make a decision with both of those things going on in your head. And the reason we have such an involved pre-approval process is that we're trying to knock out all those money thoughts before you're looking at properties, so that when you're standing in the house, when a client's standing in the house, they're confident that they can buy it at $800,000. They know what the payment is. They know they qualify. They know how aggressive they can be with their terms. So they've got all that stuff out of their head, and they can focus on, is this a proper house? Is this a good flooring? Is it close enough to my school? Because those emotional thoughts are really, really hard to get through, but really hard to get through if you're thinking about money. So that's how we're approaching this pre-approval process, and that's the benefit to the client, is you don't want to be worrying about money or thinking about payment or trying to figure out if you're an FHA loan or a conventional loan or whatever you are. You want all that taken care of ahead of time. So the color-coded system we use is the red light, the yellow light, and the green light. And it's important to you because when a listing agent is looking at offers, they know this too. And the red light pre-approval is the one Dylan's talking about. I watch football, I watch UFC, whatever. We've got advertisements, we punched it up on our phone, and we all know it's 2024. A pre-approval letter could shoot out in 10 seconds, and congratulations, right? You're pre-approved. But nobody looked at any documents, nobody talked to you about any numbers, no one did anything. Well, it feels really good as a consumer to get that because you feel like you did the work. But the problem is, a guy like Dylan's a listing agent, he knows, because of all the pain and suffering that he's gotten over the years.
The repetitions.
Yes, from accepting those offers. He's going to take that typically and put it to the bottom of the pile because he knows not a lot of effort went, and he's using that as a part of his decision making to how serious you are. And
how we advise our client on, hey, how serious did you take this offer?
How serious you took it. You watched football and laying on your couch, you used your right hand and made a loan pre-approval. Not super serious. So that one is definitely one to avoid, but the easiest to get. The yellow light pre-approval, I'd say about 60% of transactions go into escrow with this yellow light pre-approval. It's the industry standard. What that is loan officer level review, meaning the loan officer you're working with looked at it, they collected the documents that are necessary, asked appropriate questions, hopefully gave you some payment options. One thing to keep a look at, it's a really bad sign if they just send you a link first instead of having a conversation with you up front, because it represents a way of doing the yellow light pre-approval that isn't as effective. So keep an eye out for that. But you've gone online, you've done all this stuff, and you've gotten a letter from a specialist from that area that understands the types of properties that you're going to be buying and the loans that go to those. That's kind of the yellow light. Industry standard, most people, that's good enough. But what the next level to that is the green light pre-approval. What that green light pre-approval is it lets you make offers that can compete with cash on the amazing properties and in the super competitive markets, right? So that's not loan officer level review, that's underwriter level review. Meaning the underwriter has blessed all the documents, everything is in the file, and except for things that relate to the property, title and appraisal, your loan transaction is already ready to go to loan documents. It's completely done, completely baked. Now you can go to the listing agent and say, my loan's done, there is no risk to you that I won't get a loan, I completely understand payment, we can make aggressive terms that are appropriate to the deal and comfortable to the client. In order to get into escrow, then we need the appraisal and title, but our offer starts to look a lot more like cash and allows you to win in multiple offer situations without paying more because of your enhanced terms and because of how linked your loan team is with your realtor team in structuring that offer.
And let me add context here.
Yeah.
the way I did business probably for the first 7 years of my career is none of that, what Kevin just talked about, that underwriting process happens until you get under contract, right? So normally there's this huge amount of unknowns that you have to evaluate when you go through that underwriting process on the loan side that doesn't even start. And even worse, the traditional way of doing business in our market is they don't even start until after the inspection period is over, right? So you get under contract and then 2 weeks go by, you get through the inspection period, and then you tell your loan officer, hey, we're through the inspection, and they say, great, and then they start actually working on your loan. And now it could be another 10 days until they get everything processed, all the documents collected, then they send it to underwriting, and then now you find out 27 days in that there's a problem with your borrower, that they don't qualify, and then now you've wasted a month of your life and all of this time and effort. Your client has spend money on a home inspection and spend money on an appraisal, and then the deal falls apart. And again, that's just doing, from my perspective, doing a huge disservice to our client, putting them through that ringer. Not only do I not like to waste my time, I don't want to waste their time and money and then break their heart, right? There's an emotional component to this. Like, hey, if you lose out on your deal, I'm sad and we move on. But like, if you lose out on the house that you really wanted, that's like a humongous blow to your life and your plan and your family's housing. I mean, it's a huge thing. And so that's why
how many people gave up in 2021 and still don't have a house, and
now the prices are double, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm so passionate about this and doing this the right way and having the right partners that are trying to achieve the same thing, right? And trying to make sure that our clients are being serviced at that level that they don't even know necessarily exists, right? That's the biggest thing, and why we're doing this video really, and this explanation is somewhat as an educational aspect to show that this is the way it can be done. It's not the way that it's normally done, but it's really the way it should be done if you want to have the best opportunity to achieve your goals of whatever it is, buying your first home, your first investment, your retirement home, wherever you are. And that's why that discussion that Kevin is talking about is super important in the beginning, so he can evaluate, not just send you a link to send me documents. He needs to understand the whole entire story of what you're trying to achieve, because then it gives him the maximum ability to figure out different loan programs, figure out different options, maybe be creative with equity and something else. I mean, there's 100 different ways to do it, again, but you only learn through experience, not just fill out my loan application and send me your documents. So,
well, and one of the big value propositions of Agency Team is your ability to show property anywhere in the state within 45 minutes.
Absolutely,
yes,
yeah.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is a team-based approach to real estate. So if you think about the traditional model of real estate, you have to wait till Dylan has time for you. And then if you want to see on Oahu, he's got to get in a plane, go to Oahu. It's not as efficient, but because of the size of the team, they're able to give a higher level of service. The reason that our brands are so aligned is because we're doing the same thing on the loan side, where it's not necessarily my job to pre-approve people as a loan officer. It's not necessary. We have a specialist who's able to do that so that it can come out faster. It's much more accurate. It's done by somebody who only does that, and it's a lot higher degree of excellence for both the client and the real estate partner.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I always talk about in the industry, is that I would say 80% of the industry, both mortgage side and real estate side, do it the way it was done 50 years ago, right? The individual real estate agent or their individual mortgage broker do everything. They do all of the advertising, all of the marketing, all of the client lead generation. They take the loan application, then they process the loan application. They do absolutely everything, and it's the most inefficient, insane way to do business in 2024. If you look at anything else in the world, nobody does business like that anymore at a high level. There's a process, there's a team, there's multiple specialists throughout the process. You don't go to a hospital and the person that checks you in is the same person who preps you for surgery, and the same person who does the surgery, and the same person who then does recovery afterwards. I mean, it's like, that's not how the hospital works. But in the real estate industry and the mortgage industry, a lot of times that's how most of the people that you've had a experience with work, and still to this day do business that way. And I just don't believe that that's the best way that we can serve our clients. There's a specialist, like Kevin said, we can make now statewide, we can make a showing happen within an hour anywhere in the state, and I can ensure that when you choose the property that you want, we have an expert advisor who's familiar and experienced in that property type and area to help you through that process. And you don't have to hope that the random real estate agent you find online is going to be able to help you in Maui and on Kauai buy a second home and a short-term vacation rental and have the expertise to do both and have the experience that it takes, because those are two very different types of transactions and two different types of analysis that you have to do in that process. So
and on the loan side, same day yellow light pre-approvals and 3-day green light pre-approvals. That it's enabling you on the client side. You're not doing any extra work to get that. The difference is who you're working with and the leverage that those people have in order to get you to your dreams as efficiently as possible.
And I've personally watched this, and it's something that really impressed me about Kevin is his ability. And again, this is some of the gray area in the business where you have to have experiences. I've seen him have a 15-minute consultation phone call with a client and be able to say, yes, I'll get you a pre-approval in 1 minute, right? And they sends it, and no documents, no evaluation, no credit pull, but he knows based on the questions to ask whether or not that person is a highly qualified neurosurgeon who has 50% cash down and $10 million in assets. You don't need to send them a link and make them fill out all of this information and submit 25 documents before me as the agent can write an offer. I need to get that offer in. This guy wants to buy a $2 million house this afternoon. I need to get that offer in. I need a partner that can, with confidence, tell me like, yes, you're good to write the offer. I'll get you the pre-qualification letter, versus the first-time home buyer who has a very high debt-to-income ratio, who maybe has a side hustle and some cash. That guy,
pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes. Hey, give me a day or two to work with this guy to make sure, because I don't want you to get under contract and then not be able to close this deal. And we need realtors. This is realtor advice. You need a lender and a partner in the industry who's going to be that honest, that truth broker who is going to tell you the way it is, right? And not just say yes, 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 and to try and get as much business as they possibly can from you, because in the end, your net benefit is there's gonna be a lot of net cost versus net benefit. And so make sure you're evaluating that in your process of when you're building your tribe and building your team, because you need that honest person who sometimes will tell you, no, this is a bad idea, don't waste your time.
Well, this is why send me a link is a red flag, right? Because if you're not having that upfront conversation, you're not going fast enough. And all of these little tips and things that Dylan and I are pointing out and bringing up as efficiencies, when we talked at the beginning about, big team lending and big team real estate and multi decades of experience, that's just the stuff you learn. Like a 15-minute phone call, and so I can hear all the if there's any loan officers watching this, I can hear them all going, oh my God. But that's what you get after 20 years, where we're really confident
and tens of thousands of those conversations.
So it's just, it's very important. And I think that when you really start pulling back the layers of the onion on these processes, I think at face level, a lot of mortgage companies, a lot of real estate teams look the same. They look the same, and it's hard to differentiate. Just like that pilot in his snappy uniform. I mean, you don't even know if they have a pilot's license or not, right? Or someone in a gi with a black belt on, until you see them you don't necessarily know, are they really that level? Mm-hmm. But as soon as they start moving, and as soon as you feel them in the transaction, it's very, very obvious who's been there before.
Yeah, so we covered a lot today. We're gonna have more content coming out with Kevin about this whole process. I think this is a great educational, effort that we're gonna endeavor into. So more to come, you guys. Any closing thoughts on this, Kevin, before we wrap up?
Come by and see us in Kona.
Yep.
Definitely at the new office. It's lots of great stuff going on. If there's anything Dylan and I can do for you, either as clients to help you meet your real estate dreams, or as loan officers or realtors to coach you up, teach you, any of the more color on what we've been talking about today, more details. Both of us have time on our calendar for both loan officers and real estate agents to coach and to go into deeper dives. And really great session. Appreciate your time.
Good stuff. And we'll have everybody's contact information in the comments.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.